Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, today's video, I'm going to be going over the soul versus the spirit. What is the difference between the soul and the spirit? Now, we tend to use these words interchangeably. Some of us may believe that the soul and the spirit are the same thing. We use the soul and the spirit for the same meaning or for the same definition when we're talking about certain spiritual aspects of ourselves and many other different things around us. But in this video, I'm going to be explaining the differences between the soul and the spirit, right? Because there are differences between the soul and the spirit. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over those distinct differences between the spirit and the soul. All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get started. Spiritual class is in session. Right, so let's start off with the soul. All right, so first off, the soul is the being behind your emotions. Right, so the soul is our emotional body. Think of the soul as our emotional body, right? The soul is our emotional being behind our emotions, right? If we're, let's say, for example, we're listening to a motivational song, or we're listening to an emotional type song, right? We feel it in our soul. That's why people say when they're listening to a certain music or they're listening to a certain song, they're saying to themselves, I can feel this in my soul. The song resonates with me. Or you're listening to somebody speak. You're listening to somebody giving out, a motivational speech or a lecture or something like that. And, you say to yourself, I resonate with this. This message resonates with my soul. This song or this type of music resonates with my soul, right? Because that's what the soul is. It speaks to your emotions. If you're watching, let's say you're watching a certain video or documentary and they show, some unprivileged kids, kids going through struggle, kids going through turmoil and chaos, kids that are not as fortunate as other kids around the world. And you feel for them. You feel it in your heart. You have that empathy towards those kids. You have that empathy towards that person. But you might want to help a homeless person. Now, you see a homeless person on the street and you have it in your heart. You have empathy and you feel sorry for that person. And you might give that person some form of currency or food or whatever the case may be. So the soul resonates with our emotions. That's where we have that empathy towards people. We have that empathy towards others, right? And not everybody has a soul. Believe it or not, everybody doesn't have a soul. Everybody doesn't have that empathy towards others. Everybody doesn't have those feelings and those emotional drives to do something, right? That's why you have, certain people like murderers, mass shooters, crooks, rapists, all these different things. Those type of people don't have emotions. Those people don't have a soul, right? You hear, people talking about, just people like NPCs or people just going along through the matrix, just walking around through the matrix, blindly walking through the matrix. These people don't have a soul. They don't have any type of emotion towards humanity or themselves. They don't love themselves, so what makes you think they're gonna love you? They don't care about themselves. They don't have empathy towards themselves. What makes you think they're gonna have empathy towards you, right? And cloning is real as well, right? Cloning is very real. You hear people talking about, different type of cloning, clone people, right? Clone people don't have souls as well. Cloning is very real. People are being cloned till this very day in this present moment, right? So there are walking NPCs, there are walking robots, people walking around society, walking around this world with no soul, right? Because there are soulless beings out here. There are soulless people out here, right? So basically the soul is the being behind our emotions, our emotional body, right? So your soul is your higher self / consciousness. Okay, so we have a higher self that we are connected to, right? Our higher consciousness, our higher self exists in higher dimensions within our being, right? The seven chakras, especially the heart chakra and above, our higher states of consciousness, our higher states of awareness, right? So our soul is our higher self. Our soul is our higher consciousness. Our higher selves is what exists within the higher planes of our being. That's why we have, we come up with an epiphany moment. We come up with a certain idea, or we have this feeling that we have to do something or make a certain decision in our lives, or we, when we're at our creative best. That's our higher self speaking to us. That's our higher consciousness being vibrating at a certain frequency, vibrating at a certain vibration, right? So our soul is our higher self and our higher consciousness. When we tap into our higher self, when we tap into our higher consciousness, then that's when we start to evolve into our higher selves. That's when we start to become the best version of ourselves, right? Because the best version of ourselves is our higher self. The best version of ourselves is our higher consciousness within our internal being, okay? So next, your soul helps drive you to fulfill your mission / purpose, right? So you may have that feeling inside. You may have that drive, you may have that intuitive drive to want to do something, right? That's the emotion behind it, right? So we have a thought. We have a certain thought that we want to become something, or that certain thought that we want to do something, that we want to maneuver into something, that we want to accomplish something, that we want to create something, right? And that leads to those emotions, that emotional drive, right? Because our emotions play a big factor in how we behave in the certain things that we do in our lives, right? And we can alchemically convert it to something negative. We can use those emotions and utilize those emotions to do something destructive, to hurt somebody, to hurt ourselves, or we can alchemically convert it into something positive, right? Because we have that choice. We have that choice to utilize our emotions to do something good or to do something bad, right? But we want to alchemically convert our emotions to do something good, to use that creative energy to manifest what we want in our lives, manifest what we want to do within our being, right? So we can utilize those emotions to drive us to fulfill our purpose, to fulfill our mission, to fulfill our destiny, to fulfill recreational things that we want to do. You might have certain ideas that you've been laying in the back burner, within the back burner of your mind, and you could use that creative energy, you could use that emotional energy to fulfill that, whatever that may be, right? So our soul drives us to fulfill our mission and to fulfill our purpose and what we're destined to do on this planet, right? Because our emotions are the driving force. Our emotions are the motor to the vehicle. It's what drives us, right? So your soul is your intuitive guidance, right? I explained that a little bit earlier. Your soul is your intuitive guidance, right? You might want to, you have your intuition, right? When we're in tune with our intuition, when our spiritual senses are heightened, when our intuitive senses are heightened, it's able to help us maneuver through this world, right? We, come to a crossroad, right? We don't know what to do. We don't know what type of decision to make, or we come into, contact with people, or we, come to this certain setting, whether it be a club or a party or any type of social gathering or social setting. Our intuition speaks to us, right? Our intuition is basically the soul. Our intuition is a separate entity, a separate being that exists within us. And once we're tapped into that intuitive guidance, that intuitive ability, we're able to make certain decisions. We're able to, have that gut feeling. That's why it's called a gut feeling. I have a gut feeling that this person is going to say this and that. I have a gut feeling that, this environment is not meant for me to be in, and I should leave this certain setting or this certain place. I have this gut feeling that this person is going to turn their back on me. I have this gut feeling that this person is going to backstab me in the long run. So our intuitive guidance is what, gives us signals, gives us messages to make a certain decision or to not make a certain decision, to talk to this person or to not talk to this person, to make this business decision or to not make this business decision, to be in a relationship with this person or to not be in a relationship with this person. So our soul is our intuitive guide that we utilize, and that we should use, and that we should strengthen while we're on this planet, while we're in this state of existence. All right, so these are the characteristics of the soul. Now let's get into the spirit. Let's get into the characteristics of the spirit, right? Because everybody has a spirit. Everybody on this planet has a spirit. But like I said, not everybody has a soul, right? So everybody has a spirit. So the spirit has a divine origin. It returns to source once the body ceases, right? So underneath this biological vehicle, underneath this electromagnetic vehicle exists a spirit, right? We all are spiritual beings. We all have a spirit, right? Because that's our origin. Our origin is from the cosmos. Our origin is from the universe. Our origin is from God. Our origin is from the creator. Our origin is from the source. And we are spirits having a human experience. Or we are internal spirits. We are internal spiritual beings having a human experience. I know you heard that saying before. It is true. It is vital for us to remember these things and to remember this truth. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Our spirit is our origin. The spirit is the real us. We are not this physical body. This physical body is a part of us, but we are not the physical body in itself. You are not of the body. You are of the spirit, because the spirit originated from the creator. The spirit originated from God, right? And we are the spirit. So we need to walk in the spirit and not so less of the flesh. Okay? So the spirit is what emanates and keeps the body alive. And this relates to the divine spark. Right? You hear a lot of people say, we have that divine spark in us. Right? Some of us, that divine spark lays dormant in us. That's why we have all this fear. That's why we have these doubts about ourselves. That's why we have all this anxiety and this hatred and this anger and this all these negative emotions and feelings, because that divine spark is laying dormant within us, right? So once we activate that divine spark, once we unleash that divine spark and strengthen that divine spark and being much more in tune with our spiritual life, then that's when that divine spark starts to become bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And the spirit radiates the body, right? If we're in tune with our spiritual practices like meditating, yoga, going out in nature, getting sunlight, getting that vitamin D, grounding, earthing, we're emanating that spirit that's within us, and that emanates the physical body, and that expands our electromagnetic spectrum, that magnifies our electromagnetic field, because the body is energy. The body is made up of energy. Everything is made up of energy, but the body is made up of energy as well, right? We have a electromagnetic spectrum that emanates from our body, that comes from the spirit, right? So your spirit is what connects you to source. Like I said in the beginning, the spirit originates from the source. The spirit originates from God, or the spirit originates from the universe. We come from the cosmos, right? We are the spirit. So the spirit is what connects us to source, right? For example, when we're dreaming, the spirit travels into the astral realm. The spirit travels into the astral plane. And what connects us with our spirit is this etheric cord, right? The body is connected to the spirit through an etheric cord, much like a child being connected to the mother through the umbilical cord, right? When we're in our mother's womb, when the baby's in the mother's womb, we're connected to our mother through the umbilical cord. So in the spiritual aspect, the spirit is connected to the body through an etheric cord, right? So the spirit is what connects us to source. The spirit is what connects us to God. The spirit is what connects us to the universe. That's why a lot of us, we have so much, connection to the universe. We have so much connection to our higher selves, to the spiritual realm, right? And we feel like we don't belong here. We might feel like we don't belong on this earth. We're destined to be called home, right? We just want to, fulfill our mission, to fulfill our purpose, and we want to get the hell up out of here, right? So that's how much in tune we are to the spirit. That's how much in tune we are to the spirit realm, because that's our true home. This earth isn't our true home. The spirit world, the spirit realm is our true home and our true destiny, because the spirit world is more real than this third dimensional realm. Always remember that, right? Last but not least, your spirit seeks righteousness and truth. So this third dimensional realm, this physical realm, this earth realm is filled with many deceptions. It's filled with many, confusion. It's filled with lies and manipulation all around us. You see it on the TV. You see it on social media. You see it on the news, right? You see it within, everyday life. This world is a big illusion, right? This is a fractal holographic matrix. This is a fractal holographic illusion, right? We can't see nothing with these physical eyes, right? So this world is just filled with all types of confusion. We're so confused, and all the information that's being put out and things that we see on the regular is just one big confusion ball, right? But the soul is here to seek righteousness. The soul is here to seek truth, right? And we're on a never-ending journey of seeking truth and knowledge and wisdom and and happiness and all these other different things. That's what the soul is searching for. That's what the spirit is searching for. That's what the spirit and the soul is searching for, is truth, knowledge, love, peace, all these other different things, right? And then the soul wants to, help as many people. The soul wants to help people seek this truth. The spirit is seeking truth, and it wants to help people seek truth as well, right? So the spirit is the one that seeks the truth. The spirit is the one that seeks the knowledge. The spirit is the one that wants to know everything, everything that it can imagine. The spirit wants to know everything. The spirit is what houses the information and the knowledge that we want to acquire and that we want to attain, right? That's why you have, these feelings that you want to know more. You're addicted to the truth. You're addicted to knowledge. You're addicted to everything that you can grasp, because we're like a child, for example. The child, it always wants to know. It always wants to know everything. It questions everything. It questions, life. It, grabs hold of things. It wants to know. It wants to know everything around it. And that's what the spirit does. That's an example of what the spirit wants. It wants to know truth. It seeks truth. It wants to know the truth and meaning behind life, right? So we're on this never-ending quest, right? We're all on different spiritual levels as well. Some people are, newborn babies spiritually. They're newborn babies within the spirit. And some people here are old souls, right? You're many different little kids from 9 years old, spitting wisdom at the age of 9 years old, spitting wisdom at a very young age. We have a lot of old souls. We have a lot of new souls. So the spirit seeks righteousness and truth always. Okay? So both the soul and the spirit are needed for your overall well-being. Doing things like expressing yourself in your emotions, meditating, yoga, earthing, grounding, going out in nature, and seeking truth are what strengthens these aspects of yourself. So these certain things is able to help heighten our spiritual senses, heighten our spiritual awareness, unlock our gifts and our capabilities such as telekinesis, psychic abilities, all these different psychic abilities and all these different things. These are what help us raise our overall level of consciousness and strengthen our spiritual senses and heighten our spiritual senses to where we're able to unlock these certain gifts within us to help us fulfill our purpose, to manifest what we want in our life, right? Being in the realm of manifestation destiny, right? Because manifestation is your birthright. It's all of ours, right? So once we could become in tune, once we work on these things and, being in that flow state, of mind and working on ourselves every single day, being in the gym with our life every single day, then that's when we start to see things for the greater good. That's when we start to see our life change drastically for the better, right? So there you have it, folks. This is the difference between the soul and the spirit. Hopefully you guys have learned something from this video. There's the difference between the soul and the spirit. And once we're able to harness the soul and harness the spirit and have the soul and the spirit come together in fruition, then that's when we become wholehearted beings. We're able to unleash our full potential onto the world. All right? So till next time, and always remember, all power resides from within. And always keep the faith, because God and the universe is always working for you. Take care, guys, and God bless.